Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I will be reviewing the Kre-O Transformers Battle Changer Grimlock. Now, I'm going to be starting off by saying what exactly is Kre-O. Kre-O. If you don't know, Kre-O's basically Lego. It's basically Lego, but if owned by Hasbro. That's basically what it is. It's it's a notable fake Lego company because this one is owned by Hasbro, and because it is owned by Hasbro, they also have the Transformers license, so they can do stuff like this, or at least they were. I think they might have stopped. I think they might have stopped the whole Kre-O Transformers thing and just let Lego do the Transformers instead, from what I've been seeing. But enough of that. Let's take a look at this little kit itself. So this is one of those battle changers where this one. So the battle changers were like a short-lived subsection of the Kre-O Transformers, where notably they would be like these Kre-O figure builds, with their main head and torso being the little Crayon figures, which was basically Kre-O's take on minifigures. And so the other notable thing is that these would be able to transform without the aid of parts forming, which is very notable. Because these guys were the only ones who were able to do that in terms of Kre-O sets. Very interesting. But enough of all that. Let's take a look at this little kit itself. And I will say it does look really interesting. It does look nice. Now, I will go ahead and say that due to the fact that these builds are using a Crayon head and torso, it does make the proportions look a little bit wonky, in my opinion. But on Grimlock here, I feel like it's not too bad. Now we can take a closer look at this build. Here we have that Crayon torso with that very nice print with the Autobot logo and some gold detailings representing Grimlock's chest plate. Very nice. And on top of that, we do get Grimlock's head. We get this nice little helmet design. And if you take this off, you can see the Crayon head with Grimlock's visor and mouthplate printed on. Very nice. I will note that the Crayon head piece has sort of this squared off chin sort of look. It's a very interesting head piece. I will say that. But let's just fit that head back on, helmet back on. Now the arms, I do actually like the build of. It's very nice. It feels Grimlock because he has these nice rounded shoulder sections, and he has these forearms with his little dino claws at the end, at near his wrists, because these would be forming the dino legs. Very nice. The legs are a simple yet very effective design. He has his, like, crayon joints, like thighs, which seems very reminiscent of the Mixel ball joints, in my opinion. Okay, moving on to the shin, we do get some stickers and some, like, nicely detailed parts, as like this cheese loaf and this, like, piece, as well as the stickers here. We'll say most of this stuff is stickers. Because with the exception of the printing on the torso and head, the rest of the details and stuff you would see are stickers. These details on the shoulder pieces, those are stickers. The dark gray details you see on either side of this blade looking thing, those are stickers. And of course these are also stickers. I believe he has a total of 6, I think he has a total of 6 stickers. Which is not bad. Not bad. He does also feature these very large knee-like spikes, which will be forming his tail, dino tail. And yes, he does have a very big Ghibli back. But thankfully, he is able to stand up decently well due to how his feet are designed. And I also think that these, like, gray pieces here at the back at his heels might have something to do with this extra support. But I'm also glad for it. Because despite the fact that he has this massive Ghibli backpack, he's still able to stand up reasonably well, and you can still get him into poses and stuff. And speaking of that, let's get into that. So, there are lots of hinges and stuff like that, but I'll get to that stuff later. So the head is on your standard swivel. Is on your standard minifigure swivel, so there's not really much there. The shoulders are on a ball joint, so you can rotate them 360. You can move them out to almost 90 degrees, because not totally 90 degrees, but still. And because of the ball joint, it does have some waggle room for a sort of butterfly joint, basically. And below that, you do get another ball joint, which will basically act as your elbow slash bicep rotation. Very interesting. His arm only bends 90 degrees. His claws do flip out, which I like to imagine these as like a backup melee claw in case you lose the sword or something. Like, you can hinge those out due to transformation, but I like to imagine these as like a backup, like, weapons. Basically use these as a, like, wrist mounted weapon. It's something I'd like to do. It's something I like to imagine it. His waist is on a swivel, but due to how, like, this Ghibli-ness gets in the way, you have to slightly move it up and then rotate it, which is slightly annoying, in my opinion. And moving on to the ball joints, to hips, the hips have ball joints, so he can be able to kick up really far, like pretty far, decently far. It's like up to 90. And then back, also decently far, pardon the kibble. And he can also do a pretty good split with that joint. Very nice. It's a very nice, way of doing that. And of course, the knees are also on the ball joint, so he can bend 90 degrees. And he can also do a leg swivel. The kneecaps are also on a hinge, so they can hinge back and forth. And his feet actually have a joint, have a hinge here, so his feet can move up and down due to transformation. Not really much up, but you can move it to your best of abilities. So yeah, he does have a decent range of articulation for a build this small. Do appreciate that. As for accessories, really the only accessory he comes with is his, what I can only assume is his, Fall of Cybertron style sword. And that's another thing. I have no idea if this is supposed to be a G1 Grimlock or a Fall of Cybertron Grimlock. Because he kind of vaguely looks like the G1, but he also has the Fall of Cybertron sword, which is kind of weird. However, something I honestly do really like to do is take this piece off, flip it around, and reattach it like this to make it look like he has an axe sort of weapon. I do think I like that sort of configuration. I do think it's very, very nice. Now, in terms of part colors, the clutch, the part colors, I do have some samples of official LEGO and color pieces to show you the comparisons. Yes, the Kre-O bricks are fully compatible with LEGO, but your mileage may vary because quality control. Now, as you can see, the gray is very reasonably close. Very nice. There are some translucent red bits here, and from what I could tell, the translucent red on the Grimlock is slightly brighter than ever so slightly brighter than the official LEGO. Okay, so the gray is pretty close, but because I've had this set for a while, some of the gray parts have been significantly yellowed. So there's that, which is unfortunate. And comparing golds, it is quite a difference. And yes, LEGO has different variants of golds. This one is closer, but in terms of the color, describing the Grimlock's gold color, it's sort of it's brighter than LEGO's official gold. Now, on camera, it does appear to be very similar, and in certain lights, it is. But in hand, the Grimlock's gold parts do feel ever so slightly lighter than Lego's official gold. But it's not like bootleg brights. It's not like the bootleg bright gold or anything like that. It's just it's interesting. Now, moving on to size comparisons. Now, I'll start off with on the Lego side, of course. Here he is next to a minifigure, and because I happen to have a Kre-O, here he is next to the Ratchet, the movie-style Ratchet from the movie set. And as you can see, that's basic. Here, and you can see the significant difference between a standard Kre-O and a battle changer Kre-O. Very significant. Here he is next to Crosscuts. So yeah, he is significantly smaller compared to that of a Transformers Deluxe class, which is to be expected. Alright. And you know what, bonus, like, size comparison thing, whatever. Here he is next to Timothy. So there you have him next to him. Okay, now, with the robot mode pretty much covered, let's transform him. So let's remove, and for the sake of review, let's just put it back how it's supposed to be, set that aside. So, first, you rotate his head. Next, you take this kibble thing up on this double hinge, which is a little bit tricky because one of the clips on this double clip part is breaking off. So the clutch power of that clip is not doing really good. But after you have it so it's lined up like this, then you fold these two halves together and rotate the arms down, because I was having them holding the dino head in place. Speaking of which, next step you use this hinge and flip the dino head in place and rotate up the head and rotate up the jaw. Next step, you line up the legs, line up the kneecaps. Darn moth. Hinge the 2 feet up, like down. Bend the knees, fully bend down the feet and fully hinge up the tail caps or whatever. And then finally, we're going to be working on the legs. So, the legs. You basically rotate his arms so he's in like a zombie position. Then you rotate his forearms, flip down his dino claws, and then stand him in And then there you have Grimlock in his T-Rex mode, the Kre-O T-Rex mode. I will say it does, and it does look pretty decent. Considering that he came from a humanoid Kre-O. Darn moth, get out of the way, please. Thank you. Now, looking at the T-Rex, it does look very decent. The head design does look really nice. I do like that. It's a simple yet elegant design. It definitely looks like a Dinobot. The neck and upper torso portion is also very nice. I do like how it has been built. Now, obviously, from the bottom, you can see the head and torso, but that is to be expected. The legs, it's a bit blocky. The legs are a bit blocky. It's a bit chunky compared to the rest of the Dino mode, but it's fine. And it does have a wide tail though, but that's due to how he would need two kneecaps instead of just one. Now, of course, the legs are very much similar to the robot mode arms, so nothing's new there. Now, it does take a little bit of a balancing act. You can stand him up on his little dino feet. Or if you don't want to spend all that time standing him up, you could just take the sword, attach it to one of his, robot mode hands, and bam! Now you have a way to stand him up more easily. And by the way, the instructions don't point this out, but this is really the only functional or aesthetic, not aesthetic, it's the only logical way to put these is in either hand, because you can't clip the hand. You can't clip the sword on the back or on the hip, or man, this hip's loose. But this is to be expected. I've had this set for a while now. But yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, this is the hip that's doing all the heavy lifting. Well, this one's just loose. But despite that, jeez, maybe I should give you the sword. And hey, there we go. Problem solved. Looks very nice. Doesn't look too bad. And of course he also has these super tiny little T-Rex arms, which is, again, pretty adorable. But how about we get to that articulation? So, the head is on a hinge joint. Unfortunately, it can only go up to about that far, but it can go down to pretty far. And his mouth can open reasonably wide, though his lower jaw is very, very minimal. However, he does have an additional joint at the base at the transformation hinge, so you can have him look up a bit more, but it is going to break up the build a little bit. Now the arms, he can do 360 on his little T-Rex arms, and he can swivel his little T-Rex hands around. As far as the legs go, they're basically just the robot mode's arms. They're just the arms again. The legs. Now you can't. Once again, you can utilize. However, you can utilize the waist joint as some sort of tail motion, and even utilize the hip joints for up and down and stuff like that. And yes, you can also hinge the tips of the tail up and down. It's very, very nice. So articulation for the T-Rex mode is not too bad. Considering that that a lot of actual Grimlock Transformers has a very lackluster T-Rex mode that would barely have any articulation, if any. Not have weak articulation, if any. So, considering that he does actually have a decent range of articulation, is very good. And he can even if you can balance him right, or if you want to plug the accessory in, like me, you can even have him stand up on just his two legs and have his tail up. Though he is just gonna look down, kinda sad, but no matter. Does look very nice. And you can put him in some pretty good poses. Ooh. Oh, there we go. We have him looking a little less sad now. Very nice. How about we move on to the size comparisons now? So, here is next to the two figures, minifigure and crayon figure. And here he is next to Skids. Very nice. It's quite a little T-Rex mode, but it does look very nice. And overall, I honestly like it. It's a neat little thing. He looks alright, and he's able to stand well and pose well in robot mode. The transformation, of course, is going to be a little bit finicky because it's a brick built thing. And the Dinos and the T-Rex mode, considering how a lot of other Grimlock toys fail in the T-Rex category, is not too bad. It has a decent silhouette, has a nice silhouette, and has a decent range of articulation. And of course, you can if you have the parts lying around, either Kre-O or Lego and or anything else that's compatible with Lego, you can of course like add on and like modify to your heart's content. But with that, that'll be it for this Grimlock thing. Little Grimlock Kre-O sets. Overall, I like it. It's very nice. As far as, I just don't think you can get it for that decent. If you can get it for a decent price, like $10 to $15, $20 at most, I'd say go ahead. It's a nice little brick-built dinosaur. And that'll be it for this review. If you enjoyed this review, consider to like and subscribe and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.